I thought that'd be an interesting little discussion briefly, just about the death of the movie star, because Black Adam's lost like loads of money basically, as you can see here, right? Black Adam generated just under $400 million globally after 7 weeks
Wow.
on the big screen. So I mean, it's really bad. It's not good at all. Like that's really really awful.
Well, they
Really
didn't get
really
China
awful.
money, right?
No, no, true, absolutely true. Now it cost, as per Variety here, $195 million to produce. And they say it had a worldwide marketing spend of $100 million. Now I can believe that because there wasn't a lot of adverts. It wasn't, it wasn't everywhere. It wasn't huge on the marketing. There wasn't loads and loads and loads of TV spots and, multiple trailers. It wasn't massive. It was a fair one, but it wasn't massive. So that puts it at about $300 million. And then but then again, this is the pushback from Warner Brothers, which I think is interesting. Warner Brothers is like, no, we didn't do that much advertising. It's only $80 million. It's like, really? Come on now. You're splitting hairs. Like, it's not that much of a difference. And I don't believe that either. I actually believe that $100 million is the bare minimum they spent. Quite frankly, I don't know what you think about that, Paulie.
I got another dog screaming in the
Good.
background.
It's all good.
These things are just too expensive, man. They're too expensive. How can you break even and much less make money, especially if you're not going to be in certain markets?
Well, this is why they all hope for China money, and this is why they say the film needed to earn $600 million worldwide to break even. And to surpass the lofty benchmark to turn a profit. And this is true. And this is why, like, when I say Wakanda Forever hasn't broken even yet, it hasn't broken even yet. People are like, $700 million, amazing, blah, 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 blah. It's not good. Like, that's still a flop at this point in time. Like, once we're past the break-even point, you can start to consider that, making money and actually doing something reasonable. But unfortunately, it still hasn't done that yet. But
with Wakanda also too, where you got to take into consideration that ticket prices are way more expensive now than they were.
Yeah, it's like
5-6
30%,
years
isn't it?
ago.
I think it's like 30% higher.
Ridiculous. So that means less people have gone.
Yeah, less people overall have seen the
less
body
people
of work.
overall and higher ticket price. So that's a complete failure. Whether it breaks
it
even
is.
or not.
It is interesting when you look at it like that, right? Like if they don't have equal receipts, their receipts are significantly less, even given like the film's length of time being released, and but it still turned X, Y, and Z amount of profit, or not profit, but box office. It significantly less people have gone to see it though. Like significantly less people have gone to see it.
See, the reason why this is kind of like, to me, a ho-hum failure, Black Adam, that it didn't have the expectations that Black Panther has. Black Panther was a touchstone.
Well, it's over $1 billion, right? Like Disney wants $1 billion for that film,
right? But it was much more than just. But it was much right. So there's that for Disney, and then the cultural watershed moment that it was. You got none of that. You have none of that with this one.
But I think a lot of that
was a bigger failure, in my opinion. Way bigger.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Huge failure.
I think a lot of people were guilted into watching the first Black Panther, and I also feel they were guilted into watching the second one as well. And I know that from making the videos on it, because people have literally said, "Yeah, I watched this film because I wanted to pay respects," and you're like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, that's not how you pay respects to someone." Like, for goodness sake. Right. Yeah, to Chadwick Boseman. But anyway, getting back onto this. So basically, box office experts believe Black Adam will stall out with less than $400 million globally. That's looking probably likely. So it is a pretty big bomb, which is problematic since movie theater owners get to keep around half of those sales, roughly 40%, but it is different in each market. So if you average it at 50%, it makes sense. Now the movie stands to lose $50 to $100 million in its theatrical run, which actually was less, isn't it? Really, because if you're thinking it cost 300, like even if you believe in the marketing that they said $300 million to make, it rounded up to $400 million globally. Theatre owners keep 50% of that. It's actually turned $200 million, and it costs $300 million to make. So you, I mean, you're losing. It's not good by any stretch of the imagination at all. So yeah, not great, not great. $100 million bare minimum is what it will be losing. So pretty big box office bomb, actually, which is interesting. Now they do say, because this is the other thing which is interesting, and they keep getting the pushback from Warner Brothers here. So they say ancillary revenues. Sources at Warner Brothers say that the film is poised to get into the black from a lot of its sort of streaming work, because it obviously did it released on iTunes and became like #1 on iTunes or something like that. So pretty well there, but nowhere near that sort of $100 million and making, getting out of the red, as it were. And there's loads of other movies which they cite here as being bombs, and that's fine. There's not really any point getting into that. But it's an interesting case study. And it's a shame as well, like it's not an amazing film by any stretch, but it's not absolutely horrendous either. But it just goes to show, and I guess goes back to why, at the start of this stream, we're talking about Blue Beetle and going like, oh, hey, if there's too much CGI, it's going to be a struggle because these budgets are just insane. It's so difficult to turn profits with these budgets. Something has to give. And at the moment, what's giving is the bank balance at Warner Brothers and the financiers.
Yeah, someone had said while you're drinking there, someone had said, I think it was Davina Duckworth in the chat, that it's horrible timing too, as far as another superhero movie after so many duds this year. So, you got Morbius, Doctor Strange, Thor, Love and Thunder. Then this one is like, no one wanted to see it. That's another good thing, No one wanted to see it. There was no buzz about it.
Yeah.
No buzz.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Uh-oh.